Litsky, and we got Tucker Harlan at Cool Beans, but it would not be a Monday show if we did not have some technical problems going on. So we're going to work on getting Tucker in here. Hey, Tucker, can you go ahead and talk, see if we can hear you at all.
Yeah, you can hear me at all.
Oh, yeah, we got you. We got you. So I'm going to turn over
amazing
to Tucker.
How that works.
I'm going to turn you guys over to Tucker to introduce our sponsor.
All right. Well, welcome into the Monday night edition of Rock Solid Sports, sponsored by Cool Beans, the 21 and up college sports pub next to campus at 1817 Lake Avenue, a block off the strip. Cool Beans has 25 rotating beer taps and bottles, HD TVs, darts, pool, and arcade games. Open every day at 11 a.m. with burgers, wings, and sandwiches for dine-in or takeout with ball card accepted. More on Instagram at Knox Cool Beans or at coolbeansbar.com. Once again, I'm your host, Tucker Harlan, alongside Matthew Slotsky, Gabriel Daniel. We got a fun show for you tonight. And, we're in rare air with what we saw in Rupp Arena on Saturday night. 103-92 victory for the Volunteers up there. Rick Barnes now owns 4 of Tennessee's 8 victories in Rupp Arena. Obviously something that has not happened very often. And, Tennessee is coming off a game where it struggled offensively against South Carolina. They only put up 59 points in that game. But then they turned around and hung 103 in Rupp Arena. Only the third time that a team has ever hung 100-plus points in Rupp Arena, which is incredible to think about. And, I really think this Kentucky team is talented, but, probably the worst defense we've seen at the SEC.
Yeah. Good, Matthew. You got it.
But we know the injuries they were dealing with in that game. But all in all, a really solid game from a team that should have won the game before that. I was surprised to see them sit at 6 after losing to South Carolina, who's now at 15. But all in all, a great game on the road. Look, everybody's been terrible on the road. If you look at the first 20 teams in the AP poll, almost 18 of them are under 500 on the road. There are no good road teams in college basketball right now, and a lot of that stems from the difficulty this season with playing on the road. And Tennessee, credit to them, man, because they have been one of those teams that have struggled on the road this season, and they got it done and then some on the road against Kentucky at Rupp Arena.
I mean, I brought it up last week, playing on the road in college basketball. Is it, possible to, enter the game thinking you're going to win that game and have really any confidence? I mean, it was just on paper, I felt like, okay, you're going on the road against a number 10, the 10th ranked team in the country. And, obviously you're ranked higher, but it's a top 10 matchup. And it just feels like it always goes the way of the home team. But, not this time. Tennessee really came in and, made me rethink what I was saying about that. Just also the place they did it in Rupp Arena, a Kentucky team that wants to beat them and a Kentucky fan base that wants to beat them. And they just came out there and offensively, they showed up. Santiago Vescovi had 11, Josiah Jordan-James, of course, 26, Zakai Ziegler, 26. And, Josiah Jordan-James, that's kind of the one that stood out to me because, he didn't have a great game against South Carolina, and he's kind of been in a slump these last couple games. And then he comes out on Saturday night and just, I mean, wow, he was the main driver. To do that when Dalton Knecht is not your main guy. And Coach Barnes, Tucker, we were at the media availability on Friday. Coach Barnes talked about, with the other guys, not wanting to, talked about not wanting to rely too much on Dalton Knecht, and that the other guys you don't want them just standing around while Dalton Knecht goes to work. And it really seems that that's exactly the game plan that Tennessee came in with, where it wasn't Dalton Knecht, leading the way scoring wise. It was Josiah Jordan-James and Zakai Ziegler. So truly impressive win, and it just shows how this team can win in multiple different ways.
Yeah, so you mentioned Dalton Knecht not having an amazing night, and I think that's the one beauty of having a guy like Dalton Knecht on your team, right? He can go for 31 one night, but when he draws everyone's attention, suddenly that opens up other things for Tennessee. And in his case, like you mentioned, you saw Zakai Ziegler, Josiah Jordan-James. Career high for Josiah Jordan-James in that game of 26. I felt like he and Sakai were playing a little angry. They were a little bit upset about what's happened lately, and how Josiah in particular, the fan base may have turned on them a little bit just after some of the performances they've had lately. So those guys for 26. The fact Dalton Connect is putting up 16 points, nobody's even thinking about it. It's just insane. And Vescovy does a good job going 3 of 4 from the field. Really opened up strong in that game from the 3-point line. Tennessee as a whole did. And, Adu doubled up on the game as well. So it just felt like Tennessee was just getting whatever it wanted to in the paint. And, you run these inbounds plays. The guy Ziegler gets the layups. There just wasn't anything there for Kentucky defensively. And to think that the Wildcats had another guy in Rob Dillingham go for 35 points off the bench in that game. That might be the quietest 35-point performance I've ever seen, just because you're not going to see it get hyped up the way Kentucky just got beaten this game defensively.
Well, I was particularly impressed with Dalton Connect, primarily because of what he didn't do, and like you said, what that opened up for everybody else. 16 points in college basketball is a phenomenal game. Scoring 30-plus points is rare. So, first of all, his decoy or his ability to create so much tension is what got the open space in the daylight for the Josiah Jordan James and Ziegler, who had one of his best games in a while. But 35 points for Dillingham is, like you said, a very quiet 35 points, to say the least. I was more impressed with the fact that Kentucky beat Tennessee in field goal percentage, 3-point percentage. And you would think, okay, just by looking at the numbers, Kentucky won this ball game. But it was really the offensive rebounds and the second chance points that made the difference.
Yeah, I mean, Jonas Adu, 11 rebounds, obviously a good bounce back game for him as well. And, that goes for pretty much everyone on the team. I want to talk about just kind of where this team is heading, because I can see the vision now of what this team can be come March, just with that team just going on the road in that game and being able to put up that offensive output. I just don't see it as the team that we've seen in past years. And it takes a lot from me to say that, because I'm always waiting for the other shoe to fall with Tennessee basketball, where it's like they're good, but they just don't have enough to get over that hump. And I really think this is the year that they can get that done because of the special player they have in Dalton Connect and the ability of the other guys to step up. If these other guys keep stepping up, if Dalton Connect is drawing that much attention, as you guys have mentioned, the team is going to be in a really good spot to win these games. And that feels like they haven't really had that in the past, where if they had a guy who was playing dominant, maybe the other guys didn't step up. And, obviously it's a veteran group of guys, between Vescovy and Josiah Jordan James especially. And so it really makes me excited about how this is going to go down the stretch for this Tennessee basketball team. Now, we've been heartbroken before, but, I think it's different this year. I really do.
I agree. I think this is a different team. I really do. Look, I told you at the beginning of the season, I told you this a week ago and 2 weeks ago. This is a team that's poised to win its first national championship. This is a team that can win. They have the best defense in college country. I'm making that statement because I think Houston is now dropped to number 2. I think Tennessee's got a better defense. And you can't look at a box score and determine how good of a defense Tennessee has. You can't look at the fact that they gave up 95 points and say, yeah, they don't have a good defense. That's not how it works. When you stop an explosive offensive Kentucky team and hold them to the way Tennessee did on the second and third efforts that Kentucky was able to get in that game, stopping them when they had the looks that they wanted and they got to their spots, which is what makes Kentucky so good. Their ability to create, their ability to get to where they want to go, is just speaks to not only Coach Barnes and his IQ on the defensive end, but what he's done with the guys that are defensive assets and the ones that are not in the connects.
Yeah, so, I think the one thing that I will pump the brakes on a little bit is just, how good this Tennessee team was offensively. While it was good and refreshing to see this team play with fluidity on the offensive end, I think a big part of that is just the fact that Kentucky has not been good at all in conference play, just defensively. And you look at their losses. I mean, outside of South Carolina, they have not been able to stop anybody. They gave up 94 to Florida the game before, and then I'm trying to think 97 at Texas A&M. So not exactly a great offense or defensive team rather that you're taking on there, but I think that there were a lot of guys that needed to have big time performances in this game. And you look at it and maybe you can see Josiah Jordan James string things together a little bit more. And, I thought we even got good contributions off the bench from Tennessee in this game. It's not just the starters, nobody in double figures off the bench necessarily, but you get a couple of layups from guys like Meshack, Tobe Awaka, who, may or may not have received a kiss on the lips too. And then you've also got Cam Carr coming into the game for only about 2 minutes. Very surprised to see him in the game. But, he's still out there making plays. He's throwing lobs to Triple J. And, it felt like everybody had at least somewhat of a say in this one.
I thought one thing that makes Tennessee so dynamic, and dynamic's the perfect word, is you don't need Dalton Connect to give you 30 points to win a basketball game offensively. They can hurt you in so many different ways. If Dalton Connect's not having a good game, the JJJs are certainly capable of giving you 15 or 20 on their best night. Gainey is certainly capable of knocking down a bunch of shots. We know what Ayuk can done. We've seen what he's done this season. We know what Vescovi, who's had a subpar season this year, we've seen what he could do in previous years. It's the dynamicness offensively of this team, in addition to how disciplined they are defensively. Dynamic and discipline are the two words for this team, man. This is a really well-rounded basketball team that has it everywhere they need it.
Yeah, I like what you said about dynamics. I'm going to go off that and what you guys are saying about the bench guys. It's not just scoring. It's, we know the type of defender that Jemai Meshack is, and, and what Tobe Awaka can do out there. And just having kind of that flexibility defensively, I think, is going to be really interesting to see as the season progresses and we get into March, just what Rick Barnes is able to do with their lineups. And I think, you can match those guys up on people pretty well if you need some defensive stops. And again, you talk about the offense, the defense. It's just, it seems like it's coming together this year, and it's going to be interesting to see because, they have a tough stretch down the stretch. I mean, with, playing the best that the SEC has to offer in their final 4 or 5 games in a row. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they handle that when we get to that point.
So up next, you've got LSU coming to town on Wednesday. And, LSU is a team that struggled mightily last season. They had a new coach, Matt McMahon, and, they won, I think, 1 or 2 games in conference play. Get into the SEC tournament, don't do anything there necessarily. I think they may have actually won their first game, now that I think about it, but that's beside the point. They're in a situation now where I feel like they're kind of similar to what Georgia was a season ago, right? A team that is coming off a year in which basically you have nowhere to go but up. Now you're seeing LSU start to beat people, not with regularity necessarily, but they are tripping people up right now. They're coming off a big win at home against Arkansas. Arkansas is just problematic for so many reasons right now. That's just not a place you want to be in, just as a program with all these 20-point blowout losses. And, LSU, they look good at home. I'll say that. They've beaten Ole Miss at home. I think their one road win is at Texas A&M. But outside of that, they've struggled a bit on the road, and I think that the toughest competition is really yet to come for LSU. So I think Tennessee is not in a bad spot with this one. I think offensively, LSU will provide a little bit of a challenge for Tennessee, but I don't know how much they're going to be able to stop LSU, or Tennessee rather, defensively.
Head coach of LSU, Mac, isn't as bad as LSU football head coach, but very similar.
What do you mean? Oh, hold on. Brian Kelly is much better. Much, much better.
Okay, I'm not having this debate with you
Man.
again because we've seen who's
What?
been right and who's been wrong in the past.
Matthew, hold on. Brian Kelly won 10 games the last 2 seasons at LSU, and you're talking about Matt McMahon, who was a bottom feeder last year in the SEC. Brian Kelly got LSU football back up a lot quicker than Matt McMahon did. So this is just a dumb argument that you're trying to stoke the fire with.
Yeah, I'll stoke the fire any day because Brian Kelly sucks and so does Mac. Listen, if you search up right now, you search up LSU basketball, you know what shows up? They give you an option. Do you want to see LSU women's basketball or do you want to see LSU men's basketball? And that is because the women's team is far more superior to the men's team. And the
Let's not throw out bulletin board material.
The men's team is so bad that they have no I can't even get into it. Tennessee will stomp LSU at home. I mean, seriously? I mean, it's not even the LSU is so poorly coached in so many areas, football, basketball. I would be willing to bet their swimming coach has never stepped foot in a pool in his entire life. Okay? Listen, whoever's hiring these coaches at LSU needs to reevaluate his life choices because clearly he's not made good ones.
All right, I'm gonna get back to talking about basketball here. About
things that actually matter.
The basketball game that's going to be going on.
You guys started it.
Okay. Yeah, so Jordan Wright, leading scorer for LSU right now. Transfer from Vanderbilt. He's given Tennessee.
Hold on, where? Say it again.
Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt any good at basketball?
I mean, they went on. They got a little hot.
Yeah, they had that Darius Garland for like 3 games at one time back then. But other than that, they stink. They've always stunk.
But yeah, I mean, I don't see how Tennessee. I mean, look, I was pretty confident heading into the South Carolina game because Tennessee was at home. Look, LSU isn't what South Carolina is. They aren't close. So I think it should be a pretty easy win at home. But you never know with these games.
No, I know.
You know?
Oh yeah, I know.
Okay.
Tennessee will crush them at home. I picked Tennessee to win by 20+.
Well, there you go. Matthew picks Tennessee.
Listen, let's look. I only got a minute left. How rarely am I wrong? I'm almost never wrong, and I think you guys have come to realize that.
About the Packers.
I am never wrong. I am so rarely wrong.
You said Jordan Love was a bottom 5 quarterback.
He is terrible, awful quarterback. Terrible.
I think Matthew is just an LSU hater because I really don't think LSU is as bad as what he's selling them to be. I think Tennessee will win the game.
Big Angel Reese hater I am.
Yeah, this man hates LSU for no reason. But I'm still picking Tennessee to win this game. I know he wants to expose me as an LSU fan, but I'm not. I'm absolutely not. So, this basketball team is not as bad as he's saying it is. Tennessee will probably still win the game by double digits, though.
There's a corner of Tucker's closet. It's just an LSU shrine that we don't know about.
Stop.
I know about it. That's why I keep saying it. I know about it. I've been knowing about this.
Well, then, we'll go ahead and take our first break of the hour here. Lots of college basketball to discuss on the other side. Several big matchups this weekend. We'll have all that and more for you right here on the other side of Rock Solid Sports, 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.
Hi, this is John Dwyer from OCs, and you're listening to WUTK, Knoxville.
The Rock thanks Cool Beans, 1817 Lake Avenue, 1 block south of the Strip, for sponsoring and hosting Monday night Rock Solid Sports broadcast at 7 p.m. Cool Beans is the campus headquarters for food, brews, pool, shots, darts, sports, and more fun. Tuesday night is team trivia night, and Thursday nights are for bingo. CoolBeansBar.com or their Facebook page for more info.
The Rock thanks Knoxville Ice Bears Southern Professional Hockey League team for their support. Their 2023-24 home ice season from October through April includes games with Fayetteville, Huntsville, Roanoke, and more at the Civic Coliseum downtown. Single game and season tickets at KnoxvilleIceBears.com. Rock Solid Sports features Ice Bears Wednesdays with news and updates. Volunteer Radio says, go Ice Bears!
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to support from the UT Athletic Department. The 2024 baseball fall season runs February into May with games against SEC rivals Georgia, LSU, Missouri, and more at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Allvols.com. Students need to show a valid ID at the gate before entrance. Tune into Rock Solid Sports for UT baseball coverage, and The Rock wishes Coach Vitello and the Baseballs good luck on the diamond this season.
The Rock receives support from Fieldhouse Social, a fun and laid-back restaurant that offers American craft food, cocktails, and 40 beers on tap, with a 25-foot live TV and a full lounge area for sports fans. Open 6 days a week right on campus at University Commons, where football, food, and fun come together. FieldhouseSocial.com.
The Rock thanks the UT Athletic Department and the Lady Vols basketball program for their support. Coach Kelly Harper and the Lady Vols 2023-2024 home schedule includes games against Notre Dame, Ohio State, SEC foes, and more. Allvols.com. Student ticket info is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. The Rock says, "Go Lady Vols."
90.3 The Rock proudly brings Knoxville the best in new and classic, independent, and underground music on the Indie Owl. Monday nights from 8 to 10, hosted by former award-winning alumni from the WUTK Music Department and sponsored by Magnolia Records, 1515 North Central Avenue in Knoxville, and the Tomato Head Restaurant on Market Square and in the Gallery Shopping Center. Spinning cutting-edge music from around the world that pushes musical boundaries like noise pop, math rock, slowcore, shoegaze, garage rock, chamber pop, chill wave, and more. The Indie Owl brings you hard-to-find music from the artists that make it to the listeners who love it. The Indie Owl also provides independent artist news and chances to win Tomato Head and Magnolia Records gift cards. Tune in to Knoxville's true independent radio. The Indie Owl, Monday nights at 8, only on 90.3 The Rock, always bringing Knoxville new music first.
WUTK thanks the UT Athletic Department and the Lady Vols basketball program for their support, and we wish Coach Kelly Harper and the team good luck this season. The Lady Vols' next home game versus Arkansas, Monday, February 12th at Thompson Bowling Arena at Food City Center at 7 p.m. Student ticket requests are at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. General public tickets are at allvols.com. Volunteer Radio says, "Go Lady Vols, beat the Razorbacks."
This is Richard Lloyd. You're listening to 90.3 The Rock, bringing Knoxville new music first.
Volunteer Radio thanks the UT Athletic Department and the men's basketball program for their support. Coach Barnes' 9th season on the Summit includes home games against Kentucky, Vandy, and more at Thompson Bowling Arena. Allvols.com. Student ticket info and login is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. Volunteer Radio says, "Go Vols basketball."
Hi, I'm Tom from Kasabian. You're listening to WUTK Knoxville 90.3.
All right, welcome back to the Monday night edition of Rock Solid Sports, sponsored by Cool Beans, the 21 and up college sports club next to campus at 1817 Lake Avenue, a block off the strip. Cool Beans has 25 rotating beer tops and bottles, HDTVs, darts, pool, and arcade games. Open every day at 11 a.m. with burgers, wings, and sandwiches for dining or takeout with bulk card accepted. More on Instagram at KnoxCoolBeans or at CoolBeansBar.com. Once again, I'm your host, Tucker Hellman, alongside Gabriel Daniel on this fine Monday evening. Lots of college basketball to get into here. We've got this game of the Big 12 between number 4 Houston and number 8 Kansas on Saturday. Jayhawks get it done 78-65 in this one. Really never struggled at all in this game. It was a double-digit lead at halftime for Kansas, and they just continue to be stalwart of the Big 12 that they are. Now, what's shocking to me, though, or not shocking, I should say, one thing I've noticed about these Big 12 teams, or goodness, what am I saying? One thing I've noticed about these teams on defense that are defense heavy is that, when you get in a double-digit deficit, it's very, very difficult to come back if you don't have a guy to rely on offense. And, we've seen that with Tennessee over the years, just recently. We go back to the 2020, 2021 season where you just didn't have a guy on that team that wanted to go off for Tennessee in a moment of need. That's kind of what we're seeing out of Houston. Like, this team is good if it can build a lead, and maybe it's good to get out of a defensive struggle. But if you can't keep the pace with a team like a Kansas, who, by the way, not an amazing three-point shooting team. Johnny Murphy and Kevin McCullough are really been the two guys on that team that are consistently looking to shoot. So, rough loss for Houston. Not really surprised by it, though, just because that's the nature of the college.
Like Houston is a team that lives. Kansas is a team that lives and dies by the three. They love living and dying by the three. They will shoot as many shots as they can until they feel they've hit their mark. Because at some point, you shoot a number of shots, you make a certain number of money. That's how they feel they play basketball. Now, despite the fact that that is completely untrue, that's how they play basketball. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I told you how good Houston is on defense. They're one of the better teams in college basketball. Last week, I would have told you they were number one. Now I think Tennessee's one and Houston is number two. Defense wins championships. At the end of the day, I don't care whether it's the NBA and you score 140 points a game as a team, or you are in college and you're one of the best offensive teams. The offense never wins. Defense wins championships. And that's why I told you Houston's going to be in the Final Four, because they're so good on defense. It's not to say that they're going to win, but Houston is such a good defensive team. More importantly, they're so versatile. Almost every guy in their finishing lineup, in their finishing rotation, can guard 1 through 5. It's the versatility, the ability to switch when you need it and not have to worry about going over or under screens is a massive asset for this team. Yes, they lost a very, very good offensive Kansas team, especially around the rim. But with that being said, look, defense always wins. Another Matthew bold statement, wise word take.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like the defense wins championships thing is overblown at this point. I just feel like we've seen a change in the past years where, you gotta have good. You have to be good on both sides of the ball. You have to. Okay, I think the emphasis has switched to where offensively, you can always fall back on a good defense. I think that's what kind of prompted the saying. It's like over the course of the season, your defense is going to stay fairly static from a certain point out. Whereas offensively in basketball, you don't know when a guy's going to start missing shots and stuff like that. I'm just concerned about Houston's firepower on offense, and it's great that you can fall back on a good defense, but I've seen it so many times where, at the end of the day, a good offense is going to beat a really good defense. It's going to come down to that.
Wrong. So wrong. The best statistical baseball offensive team in college baseball history.
We're talking about baseball.
Is the
We're talking about
I
basketball.
know. I'm just giving a point. I'll give you another reference in a second. Was the 2022-2023 Tennessee Volunteers. Tucker, how did they do?
2022-23? Are you talking about baseball?
Yep.
You're talking about the 2022 team. It doesn't overlap over the course of 2 years. It's just not how that works.
Team that could not make it out of their home super regional.
Yeah, there were other things that played there. Baseball's a weird sport.
The number one team in hockey NHL offense history, the Florida Panthers, in the 2022-2023 season, lost in the first round to the Lightning. Now, I can give you thousands of NBA basketball examples. Offense never wins. Defense always wins.
What about the Warriors? Weren't they pretty good offensively?
The Warriors are one of the best Warriors team, the 5-year dynasty, is one of the best offensive teams in NBA history. But
2019 LSU won a national championship, and they were one of the best offensive teams in the country.
You got to say that again. I didn't hear you.
Listen. LSU in 2019, one of the best offensive teams in college football history, with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Thaddeus Moss. How did they do? They won the national championship.
Yes, they did, Tucker. I'm
That
so
can prove
happy
it
you
wrong.
brought that up. I'm so happy you brought that up because, as I told you before, I am so rarely wrong. Who coached that team? Who coached that team, Tucker?
Ed Orgeron? Yeah, the guy who's not okay. Look, we're doing the thing where we're not talking about the sport.
No, we're doing the thing where you say some things and I prove
We're
you wrong.
not. I'm putting a pause on the LSU talk, gentlemen. We're not talking about.
Look at the smile on his face.
We're
Look
not
at the
talking
smile.
about
He
LSU
knows
sports.
what he's
We're
doing. He
we're
knows
talking about
exactly what he's doing.
Look, the
Well,
argument
listen,
offense.
I am arguing
Go ahead.
offense versus defense here. I'm saying that because it's it's an example of a team in which the offense really did win them that game or that championship. It's possible.
I guess what my argument is, what I'm trying to say is that it just you can't. I'm not saying you can't just say defense wins championships.
Yeah, I said it.
Just say that defense always wins championships.
Always
There's
does.
so many different factors that go into the course of the season. I just feel like it's something we overuse that we fall back on to say when I think there's plenty of examples where not always the best defense wins the championship. The more, there's so many factors that go into it. And I don't know. I feel like that's a hard one to say. But getting back to it, it was Houston versus Kansas. It's the top two teams in the Big 12, and the game pretty much lived up to it. It was close. Both teams kind of played their brand of basketball, and Kansas escaped with a win. So it just shows you how you gotta keep your eye on the top of the Big 12 over there. I mean, we said it last week. They're the best conference in college basketball this year, and there's other teams in there, of course, that are frisky as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays down the stretch. Did they play each other again, or was that thing? Oh, they do. Kansas plays Houston again at the end of the year at Houston. So it'll be interesting to watch and see where the teams are at that point.
Well, it was far from the only big-time matchup you had this weekend. You had Tobacco Road, at least the first chapter in the Dean Dome between North Carolina and Duke. North Carolina ranked the higher between the two teams, and they got it done at home in the Dean Dome. North Carolina, to me, despite the hiccup midweek against Georgia Tech this past week, really looks like the best team in the ACC. You brought in a couple of good transfers in Cormac Ryan, Harrison Ingram. Harrison Ingram, he's almost a better rebounder than Armando Bacot, it feels like, if you just look at it from a game-to-game basis. And that's saying something because Bacot has just kind of been known as a walking double-double throughout his career at North Carolina. Got a very good guard in R.J. Davis as well. Not necessarily the deepest team, but they're finding ways to beat you, with some degree of defensive intensity more so than I think they have offense in the past. But right now I don't think the ACC has a team outside of North Carolina or Duke that I think can really contend for the championship right now. Like I think Wake Forest or maybe Clemson are solid teams that can give you a run for your money, but they just haven't been able to get over any humps this year in that conference.
Tucker, is it fair to say that the ACC is the second best conference in basketball this season?
Why is that?
It's a question.
I like the Big Ten.
I just don't think it's, there's some competition, but, I don't think there's as much as you're seeing in like the Big 12 or the Big 10. I think there are more just strong teams in the Big 10 right now than there are in the ACC. I mean, even the SEC, I would say, Tennessee and Kentucky came into the year strong, but you've seen the development of teams like Alabama, Auburn, South Carolina. Right now, I like any of those teams over what we're seeing in the ACC
Auburn's
that are
great.
not North Carolina or Duke. So
Auburn has been great. I like your point on UNC's Bacot. Bacot could be a top 3 player in college basketball, could win player of the year along with Edey or Connect. Truthfully, he's as good as it gets, and that's what you get when you see a tenured guy. I said it 2 weeks ago. That's what we don't see in college basketball or in college sports in general, is we don't see tenured guys. We don't see guys that stick around for 2, 3, 4 years. And it's
when you say tenured, he's been there for 700 years.
You see my point. And NBA teams and NFL teams, they value that. They value players that have stuck with a program and have seen different looks from different opponents while staying in one program under one coach for 3 or 4 years. And as for North Carolina, no doubt in my mind they were going to win this game. For one, offense always wins basketball games all the time. So offense obviously won this one.
Wait, what? Now you've converted?
That was a joke. I was just making sure everybody was listening. No, North Carolina is a very good offensive team. We saw that what they did against Tennessee. 93 points at home against a very good defensive Duke Blue Devils team, especially a team that plays with a lot of length. Duke is one of the taller teams in college basketball. They play with a lot of length. So just the matchup on its own is box office. It's why it's always the most watched college basketball game in the regular season. But a really, really I like the word you used before, silent 9-point win. I wish the game was a little bit more entertaining. I didn't think it was that net back and forth, neck and neck, but North Carolina is a better team all in all on both ends of the floor, especially offensively.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think North Carolina is just the clear-cut best team in the ACC. You know, I said it last week. I was fairly confident of them heading into this game. Now they're playing at home, of course, so that's a big plus in their favor. But I just think they're the most well put together, and I'm just not really seeing it as much from Duke this year, and I have some concerns about them. But North Carolina, I think they're going to run away with it by the time we're at the end of the season. And as for the rest of them, Virginia, obviously they're having a good year, and not ranked, but having a decent year. You have NC State, you got Miami down there, you got Wake Forest. So you got a couple interesting teams, but to your point, Matthew, I just think when you're looking at the Big Ten, and I think they've got better teams, and then they're like mediocre teams are about on the level as the ACC's mediocre teams.
So looking at the Big Ten now, you had one big game this weekend, and this will be the last one we go over. Number 2, Purdue taking on number 6, Wisconsin yesterday. Boilermakers get it done in the Kohl Center, 75-69 on the road. And, it's interesting to watch this Purdue team just because you obviously have Zach Edey. I mean, he's almost a literal elephant in the room. He just stands there, he grabs his rebounds, but it's impossible to play against him just the way he is officiated. And what I mean by that is, obviously he's getting beat up all game long, right? Because he's 7'4". What else can you do? But, when he's moving people around, they go flying, and it's hard to make calls against him necessarily. And, he shoots all these free throws. So, outside of Edey, they got a couple good guards in that team, and Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer, 2 sophomore guards. And they brought in a good transfer in Lance Jones as well. They can shoot the ball for them. So Purdue is a tough team, but I just don't know if it'll be able to hold up in March. You see them win a lot of these close games like this throughout the course of the season. But remember, they've lost to a double-digit seed like each of the last 3 tournaments now, because they lost to North Texas, who was a 13 2 seasons ago, or excuse me, 3 seasons ago now. They lost to the 15 St. Peter's. Now, granted, that was the Sweet 16, but then they also lost to the 16 seed Fairleigh Dickinson, just the second team ever to do that. So I don't know if this is the year that Matt Painter gets through. I just don't know right now.
History doesn't always mean it's going to be an inevitable for the future, although an interesting point. Yes, Purdue seems to choke come tournament time, but I think this game really tells us more about Wisconsin. We talked about it last week. Wisconsin is one of the bigger surprises this year in college basketball, especially from where they were picked in the preseason and how they started the season. Wisconsin held their own in this game. Now, they were at home, so they had the advantage, and I thought they did a decent job on Edey. But look, it's I said it last week along with UConn, it's the gaps, the holes that both Purdue and UConn have that make them a question mark come tournament time. And as for Wisconsin, look, this is as good of a team as anybody outside of the top 1 or 2 in each conference. They're a team that can beat anybody. So it was a really good game. I enjoyed this one far more than I enjoyed UNC and Duke. But to your point, a literal elephant in the room might be walking his way out of the tournament quite soon.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the problems that Edey poses, and it's just, I don't know, with Purdue, that game last year against Fairleigh Dickinson just always replaying in my mind, where they did a really good job of pretty much going with this small ball lineup, and because they don't have anyone that's
nobody does
close to his size. I know, but even especially Fairleigh Dickinson, And they found ways to kind of work around him and get the rebound. So you're talking about Purdue's got a couple guys this year. Tucker. I mean, I think they're really going to need him to step up, and nothing to do with Edey as a player. It's just you have an off game there, and you have an off game, and if you have an off game in March Madness, it's over. I mean, we see it every year. It's just that's what makes the tournament so great. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think you have to have those other guys, those ancillary pieces, really step up if Purdue's going to be successful. And I don't think I'm as low on them as you guys. They're still number 2 seed, and we saw it after Virginia lost to UMBC the next season. They got it together and they went on to win the whole thing. So I don't know, but it is tough for me to kind of separate what this Purdue team was last year and did last year with what this Purdue team is this year.
I'm not low on them. I believe in the saying, what worked for you once might not work for you again. And it seems like every regular season, what has worked for them throughout the first 35 games does not seem to work out for them come tournament time. I also think it's important to note that, never mind, we're out of time.
Yeah, it's bizarre to especially the just disparity of free throws that they have. Shooting that they shoot compared to other teams, right? The other night against Northwestern, I believe it was 46-8, which is just a ridiculous number for one team to be shooting. So it's just bizarre. We'll see how it plays out in March, how these officials that are not familiar with the Big Ten and surrounding teams will officiate them in the future. But that's about all the time we have for college basketball. On the other side, Super Bowl is this weekend. We'll have score predictions and much more for you here on the other side on Rock Solid Sports on 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.
Thanks, Cool Beans. 1817 Lake Avenue, 1 block south of the Strip, for sponsoring and hosting the Monday night Rock Solid Sports broadcast at 7 p.m. Cool Beans offers lunch daily with a full and late night menu and is the pre- and post-game on-campus location for Vols and Smokies baseball and Lady Vols softball, MLB, Pro Soccer, and the Preds on the big screens. 21 and over only, please. CoolBeansBar.com or their Facebook page for more info.
The Rock thanks the UT Athletic Department and the Lady Vols basketball program for their support. Coach Kelly Harper and the Lady Vols 2023-2024 home schedule includes games against Notre Dame, Ohio State, SEC foes, and more. AllVols.com. Student ticket info is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. The Rock says, go Lady Vols.
The Rock thanks Knoxville Ice Bears Southern Professional Hockey League team for their support. Their 2023-24 home ice season from October through April includes games with Fayetteville, Huntsville, Roanoke, and more at the Civic Coliseum downtown. Single game and season tickets at KnoxvilleIceBears.com. Rock Solid Sports features Ice Bears Wednesdays with news and updates. Volunteer Radio says, go Ice Bears! Volunteer Radio thanks the UT Athletic Department and the men's basketball program for their support. Coach Barnes' 9th season on the Summit includes home games against Kentucky, Vandy, and more at Thompson Bowling Arena. AllVols.com. Student ticket info and login is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. Volunteer Radio says, go Vols basketball!
90.3 The Rock, Knoxville's original music pioneers.
Right on, brother. I hear you. Man, I hear you.
Bringing Knoxville new music first.
Good for you, man. Good for you. Good for you.
Left of the dial, it's 90.3 The Rock.
Wow, that is sensational.
The Rock receives support from Fieldhouse Social, sports games paired with cold beers and reach in University Commons. Fieldhouse Social offers a diverse menu of tavern foods such as pulled pork nachos, the Fieldhouse Cobb salad, and the Applewood smoked chicken wings. Kick back and relax in the lounge. FieldhouseSocial.com.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to support from the Knoxville Ice Bears professional hockey team. The Ice Bears' next home game on home ice is Friday, February 9th versus Fayetteville. Face-off is 7:35 p.m. at the Knoxville Civic Coliseum downtown. Ice Bears tickets are at KnoxvilleIceBears.com or 865-525-PUCK. Tune in to WUTK's Rock Solid Sports for Ice Bears news. Volunteer Radio says, go Ice Bears.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to support from the UT Athletic Department. The 2024 baseball fall season runs February into May with games against SEC rivals Georgia, LSU, Missouri, and more at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Allballs.com. Students need to show a valid ID at the gate before entrance. Tune into Rock Solid Sports for UT baseball coverage, and the Rock wishes Coach Vitello and the Baseballs good luck on the diamond this season.
90.3 The Rock proudly brings Knoxville the best in new and classic, independent, and underground music on the Indie Owl. Monday nights from 8 to 10, hosted by former award-winning alumni from the WUTK Music Department and sponsored by Magnolia Records, 1515 North Central Avenue in Knoxville, and the Tomato Head Restaurant on Market Square and in the Gallery Shopping Center. Spinning cutting-edge music from around the world that pushes musical boundaries like noise pop, math rock, slowcore, shoegaze, garage rock, chamber pop, chill wave, and more. The Indie Owl brings you hard-to-find music from the artists that make it to the listeners who love it. The Indie Owl also provides independent artist news and chances to win Tomato Head and Magnolia Records gift cards. Tune in to Knoxville's true independent radio. The Indie Owl, Monday nights at 8, only on 90.3 The Rock, always bringing Knoxville new music first.
All right, welcome back to the Monday night edition of Rock Solid Sports, sponsored by Cool Beans, the 21 and up college sports pub next to campus at 1817 Lake Avenue. A walk off the strip. Cool Beans is 25 rotating beer taps and bottles, HDTVs, darts, pool, and arcade games. Open every day at 11 a.m. with burgers, wings, and sandwiches for dine-in or takeout with Vault Card accepted. Go on Instagram at Knoxville Beans or at CoolBeansBar.com. One more time here on this Monday night, and we've got a Super Bowl to discuss. You know, we're within a week of the game now, and you've got the Chiefs playing the 49ers in Las Vegas. 49ers are already complaining about their practice field, and it looks like it's too bushy or something. Like there's a hardness score in the NFL for fields and like certain conditions that they play in, and it has to range between like 70 and 78. Theirs is currently sitting at a 50, so evidently it's not hard enough. So
I believe the word they used was sponge, is what it felt like. So
yeah, it should not be playing on a sponge. Definitely not good. And you know, the 49ers have experience with this in the past, unfortunately, with rough field conditions. I believe it was the 2020 season where they had the two games back-to-back in MetLife, and they basically sued because their turf just absolutely destroyed their team from an injury standpoint.
And last year too, and not the 49ers, but Chiefs Eagles, wasn't there was a big issue with the field there, and because it was being hyped up as such a good field, and then immediately players were just slipping all over the place. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah, so you've already got that issue in Las Vegas, and you've got a team in the Chiefs that is they come into this game. They didn't peak too early in the regular season, right? They've gotten to a point now where they've gotten big wins over the Bills and the Ravens back-to-back, proving that they're kind of like the Patriots of old, right? You know, they'd stumble at times in the regular season, but they pulled all together by the time the postseason came around. And the 49ers, who have been the machine all year in the NFC, they're coming into this game. They want some revenge for what happened to the last time they were in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, and they've yet to get over that hump this century, I suppose, because they played the Ravens at the lights out Super Bowl game back in 2013. Then, yeah, I believe it was 13. It was the Super Bowl. 12 was the season, and then they of course blew it against the Chiefs in that Super Bowl right before COVID. So, you know, this is a franchise that needs to get over a hump. You know, obviously everybody's complimenting everything they've done in the front office, just assembling a good roster, but they've got to break down that fourth wall and, you know, really succeed and win the Lombardi Trophy.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think, you know, looking at the Niners, and you said it, Tucker, it's like they've had everything there. They just haven't gotten it done. Well, almost everything. You know, I'd argue the one thing they haven't had is the quarterback. I think that's the only. Just looking at what they've done in the past, look, they've had the roster building. I mean, Nick Bosa, that defense is incredible. They've had Nick Bosa multiple years, Fred Warner multiple years. They, the secondary, they've always found guys. It was Jimmy Ward, he's gone now, but they found guys to come in there. Diamine Lenore is an underrated slot cornerback. Signed Jadarius Ward from the Chiefs. He's a really good corner. And they have other pieces obviously on that defense, Eric Armstead. And then offensively, Trent Williams. The rest of that line has been a bit of a question mark. I think that's the other thing you could point to. Receivers, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Kyle Shanahan is one of the best offensive coaches in the NFL, bar none. No, I feel like the only guy you could put ahead of him is probably Andy Reid. So, and that one thing that's been missing, it feels like, at least in the past Super Bowl, last time there was quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo was not good enough to get that done. I think we all know that, and that the system propped him up a little bit. So the question is, can Brock Purdy get it done? Is he the guy who can get it done? And a couple things that the X factor that I think in this game is going to be Brock Purdy's legs and what he's able to do with that. Because in that Lions game, that's part of the reason that they came back in that game is his ability to scramble and, actually make some plays with his legs that Jimmy Garoppolo could not. So I think that's the X factor heading into this game. And then the Chiefs, I didn't spend much time on them because it's the Chiefs. They're down some weapons that they've had in the past. They still have Travis Kelce, O-line that's dominant, and it's the best defense they've had in years. So, yeah, real interesting matchup here.
No.
What?
The X factor in this game is the best playoff performer in football right now.
Okay, yeah, Patrick Mahomes is going to be the X
Are
factor.
we going to see
but-
regular season Patrick Mahomes, or are we going to see the second greatest quarterback of all time, Patrick Mahomes, in the playoffs and see him in playoff fashion? That is the X factor. And that will determine which one. It doesn't matter how Kansas City offense or defense plays. It doesn't matter how good Brock Purdy is. If Patrick Mahomes is on one, if he is in his bag, let me tell you something. You better expect the Chiefs to come running away with this one out of the gate.
We want to do picks? We about lost Tucker.
I think we lost Tucker.
We lost Tucker. Okay, Matthew.
Oh,
you and me.
my God.
You and me, we're doing picks. We can maybe get Tucker to text him his picks. I'll start. I'm going Chiefs. I don't know if X factor was the right word. Undervalued factor. Because, of course,
Good. I like it. Good rephrase.
Okay. Patrick Mahomes is going to be the guy in this game. And I think you just can't go against it. We were having that offense-defense debate. You just don't bet against Patrick Mahomes and what he's able to do. So I'm going Chiefs in this one. They get it done again. The 49ers have to figure something out at some point.
Well, I'm going to go the same reason. If Patrick Mahomes is the X factor, it's Chiefs all day, man. Chiefs are going to dominate this one, in my opinion. I'd give them the edge over anybody in the NFL because they have the second greatest quarterback in NFL history who's trying to rise in the ranks and take down cheater Tom Brady. So give me Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Would you like to read Tucker's?
We have an update from Tucker. He is going with the San Francisco 49ers. Thank you all for tuning in to Rock Solid Sports. For Matthew Stolitsky to my left, Tucker Harlan, who we lost to connection issues. Rest in peace, Tucker. I'm Gabriel Daniel. Have a great one. Indy Isle is up next.